Well, it's certainly a very hot topic right now, right? Especially in these days that we are in. I mean, if you kind of read all these articles coming from companies that do forecasting and analysis like Gartner and companies like that, you will see numbers like, oh, by 2020, all the companies, 90% of companies will be in cloud and so on and so forth. I think that one trend I am noticing, and there is a higher understanding within CTOs and CIOs that if your job as a company is not to do IT, there is no point of running IT yourself, right? If your job is to make burgers, if you're McDonald's and your job to make burgers, there is no point of having servers. It just doesn't make any sense, right? You rather let somebody else take care of that for you. So you turn into cloud infrastructure essentially, right? It's cheaper. It's potentially cheaper, I would say. It's much resilient. It's much more secure because you cannot really hire as much security people as a company like Google or Amazon would be able to do. Companies like cloud providers are more and more getting closer to the enterprise by getting more compliance or certifications or being SOC compliant or S compliant or stuff like that, right? This is a trend. Trend is understanding that there is a value in going to cloud. Because if you really look into how people used to consume IT 20 years ago, there was also this a procurement life cycle, right? You start, you buy a bunch of servers. So you put a couple of millions of euros, you spend them, you buy your infrastructure, you hire people, you operate this infrastructure. And then 5 years later, your infrastructure depreciates. So you have to buy more. And then you go into these cycles. And it's very hard for companies to actually, because as a company, as a business, you might not do well in 5 years. So you might not even have enough money to be able to buy more infrastructure when your old infrastructure is old, right? So with cloud, you have this pay-as-you-go model where essentially, as you are consuming IT, you are only paying for what you need, and you can always reduce or increase how much you're spending in terms of IT, and it's much more easy than if you have a bunch of servers sitting in a data center that you own, right? This is kind of the trends, I would say. Now, the problem that I see from my perspective is that going to cloud requires a lot of changes, and they are not necessarily all technical changes. There is a huge cultural change that needs to happen within an organization to actually go to cloud. And that's why we usually talk about a cloud journey, because it's not like a flip a coin decision. You switch a coin. If it's a head, you go to cloud. If it's a tail, you stay on premise. It's a couple of months, even couple of years kind of journey where you are slowly transforming your IT to run on cloud, because not all IT systems are actually optimized for cloud, and cloud providers does not offer everything that you would have in a data center. But another trend I'm also noticing is that the cloud providers themselves are trying to kind of bring the cloud to the customer in a way where we're seeing companies offering things that you can run on premise but manage from a cloud platform, right? So what we call usually hybrid or multi-cloud kind of platforms. I think that's an interesting aspect. We'll have to see how that will play in the next couple of years. But I think that there is a value in doing that, in the sense that we will allow customers to slowly transform, but still having that feeling of being at home. And my servers are running in my data center. It's not my software, but it's my data center. It's my servers. I can touch them and hack them and see them, right? There is, other aspects would be that companies, big companies that you would never thought or you would never think they are going to cloud, like HSBC, a big bank, really old bank. Lufthansa, one of the biggest airlines in Europe. These are companies that existed for hundreds of years, and they run things in a really old SAP. And they understand the value, and they are doing things toward that cloud journey. So I think that we will see more and more of these big names showing up as we choose cloud because whatever. That's just a matter of time. Again, it goes back to what I said about legacy systems and owning servers. You can't just say, oh, I have this hundreds of millions of infrastructure, I'm just going to drop it and go to cloud. That's not how it works. You have to use it until it depreciates to zero or almost to zero, and then sell it and then move to cloud. So it's like a slow transformation. So yeah, kind of my thinking about that, yeah.